Welcome to the Women's Health Question and Responses. Now, these questions that we're going to go through are going to be censored because some of the powers that be will be upset with some information that we can't talk about. The uncensored questions where we can speak freely are going to be on the Dr. B VIP site. But now let's get into this. Oh, I love this person's name. Common Sense University doesn't give a degree. That's the person's name. How do you know if your weight problem is caused by hormone imbalance? Is there a test you can have done to make sure your hormones are okay? You've got two communication pathways in the body, okay? Electrical and chemical. Chemical communication is hormonal, and this changes all the time. There isn't really good hormonal test. Like you can do hair analysis for toxicology, and that's kind of rough. You can do a saliva test, and that's really rough. Just realize that your exposure and your adaptation to that exposure and your stress level are going to change your hormones all the time. Okay, and I'm talking multiple times a day. Chronic stressors, such as chronic toxicity that can negatively affect hormone production or keep you in that chronic fight or flight state or stress state, that is going to cause elevated cortisol. So if you see elevated cortisol in any one of those tests, and this is why, how do you know your weight problem is caused by hormone imbalance? Typically, it's going to be belly, seat, and thigh weight distribution or weight that isn't affected by dieting. Okay, and the only test that you could do, but there's not really a good test. What you've got to look at is your metabolic response to the environment. If you have 2 to 3 healthy bowel movements a day, you sleep deep and you get up refreshed. You have a positive mental attitude on approaching the world. Okay, now all of those are fantastic. If you get an autonomic nervous system check, and that's what I would actually do, because remember, hormones are only half of the communication pathway. Getting a heart rate variability test or to see if your automatic nervous system is in balance, that's fantastic. If you have an imbalance in that system, then that is going to cause your chemical communicators or the hormones to alter. So looking at physical, chemical, emotional stress, looking at the end result, okay, that you don't have weight distribution in the belly, seat, and thighs, and that dieting, either increasing your caloric intake or decreasing your caloric intake, is going to fluctuate that. That's going to be the key. But looking at how your metabolic processes are going, that's also going to be the key. So I haven't seen a real accurate test. And even when you do the saliva cortisol test, cortisol could be excreted in the short term for inflammation, in the short term for stress. But if it's chronic, you're looking at suppression of the thyroid, adrenal fatigue, a lot of different things. And this could have a lot of underlying issues, such as liver toxicity, leaky gut, poor absorption of nutrients. So I would recommend looking at how you feel, how your metabolism is, 2 to 3 healthy bowel movements a day, good sleep patterns. And if those are interrupted, then look at the 3 stressors: physical, chemical, emotional stress, because your body is responding correctly based on the stimulus. What we got to look at is what that stimulus is, and if you're handling and you're building healthy tissue faster than it breaks down. Question 2, Candyland 8903. Are endometriomas related to COVID? COVID, and this is one of the censorable topics. If you say certain things about something, but if we look at coronaviruses, that's been 30% of all the flus, okay, in the world. So there is nothing unique about coronaviruses in particular, but this is a censored topic. So this is something that we cannot discuss. But the stress levels will be related to endometriomas, because endometrium is the lining of the uterus. When that uterus contracts every 28 days to expel that menses, and if there's loss of nerve supply to the fallopian tubes, if there's some type of alteration in that, then the endometriosum or endometrium goes out of the fallopian tubes and forms a mass inside of the pelvic cavity. So that is not going to be a result of any viral or external influence. It can be the result of certain interventions that we can't talk about here, but it can be the result of pelvic insufficiency, or if there's compromised nerve supply to the pelvic organs. So look at the pelvis, lumbar, leaky gut, abnormal gait, look at bunion formation. All of those are going to be contributing factors to endometriomas. And a virus and flu, that could be a chemical stressor, but the interventions that the medical system is doing to intervene on that viral influence of the environment it can also have a negative effect. Oof. Yeah, my effort for political correctness. Question 3 from Kathy O'Berry, 8221. Thank you for teachings. Could you talk about life after a hysterectomy? What happens to your body? What ways to improve your life? Do you still take hormones? Okay, yeah, hysterectomy. And if you got lucky and they left the ovaries, fantastic. But you got to look at the underlying thing. Anytime a woman's come with a hysterectomy, I say, well, was it bleeding or fibroids? If it's fibroids, it means the body was walling off toxins. If it's bleeding, it means current toxic environmental exposure causing excessive bleeding. So we're going to look at a toxic influence. It has the causative factor of the hysterectomies. And I know you're looking at post-hysterectomy, but if you didn't correct the cause that caused the uterus to develop fibroids or the ovaries to develop cysts, if you're not addressing the causative factors and thinking that the hysterectomy actually removed the problem, that is not what really happened. Okay, so you've got to look at the toxic environmental exposure that you've had. And this could be from antibiotics in the meats or hormones or glyphosate exposure in the toxic food products. It could be a chronic state of stress, physical, chemical, emotional stress. Could be insufficient pelvis. There could be a physical structural problem putting you in that stress state. All of those are going to be contributing factors to why they did the hysterectomy. Okay, number one, find that. Second, look at the adrenals are going to adapt. The adrenals are the pharmacy of the body, and they produce every glucocorticosteroid, mineralocorticosteroid, and sex hormone that your body would normally produce. So in normal menopause, the adrenal glands start to produce the estrogen and progesterones to balance out the decreased production from the ovaries and uterus. But, during that menstrual issue, when you go from menstruating to menopause, there is a natural digression of certain hormones, and the adrenals function correctly. Now, however, in a hysterectomy, this forces you into menopause at whatever age you're at, and it's going to force adrenal fatigue. So look at healthy liver function, which is going to be fantastically important. Increasing your fat intake. And I'm talking healthy fats, not toxic fats, not canola, cottonseed oil, soy oils, none of those toxic clear oils, no corn oil. Look at healthy saturated fats like coconut oil, grass-fed butter, ghee. Okay, healthy fats, olive oil, nuts, seeds, and organic nuts and seeds, fantastically important to help with hormonal production. Look at changing sleep patterns. Poor sleep is a chemical stressor. Look at changing your emotional aspect, neurolinguistic programming. A couple of ways that I recommend, because emotions, you're living on a three-legged stool. You got physical, chemical, emotional stress. Emotions are one of those legs. Physical stress is one of those legs. Healthy diet is one of those legs. Changing and mastering your emotions. Do a project, and you could call this vision statements, you can call it goals, journaling, whatever. Write down at least 10 a night in the present tense, okay, for 30 days. Okay, and this is a great way to reset your emotional. But the vision statements have to be in the present tense. So I am healthy, I am dynamic, I am vibrant, I am enjoying a great romantic relations with my spouse, and I live in a world of abundance and love and grace. Okay, I appreciate those around me, and I receive love and abundance from those. So at least 10 of those a night, and think what that does. That's going to set your mindset for that healing aspect of sleep. Amazing great way to improve the life. So increasing fats, looking at physical stressors, changing the emotional stressors. Look at our neurolinguistic programming videos. Those are great. Also, you can look up emotional freedom technique. Still taking hormones. There's certain fats that your body can. If there has been hormonal issues in the past, that's why I say look at what caused the hysterectomy in the past. And hormones, I wouldn't recommend it because that's more of an allopathic approach. You may need to take some of the hormones, though, at the start, like wild Mexican yam. You can have it formulated. We do that in our clinic in Mexico. Formulate it based on your blood analysis. So that might help you get over the edge. I wouldn't recommend synthetic hormones because that increases the risk of cancer too much. Black cohosh is good. There's a number of different medicinal mushrooms. Go to a good herbalist. That's going to be good. Building your gut flora with healthy fermented foods. And there is ways to improve your life, and you will enjoy this planet, my friend. Question 4. Some Samara Ahmed, 70868. Hi from France. I'm 48 years old and menopause since last year. I face problems like anxiety, hot flashes, difficulty to lose weight. My doctor refuses to give me hormones and revises me to review my diet, but sometimes I feel depressed and not able to lose weight. In France, hormones are prescribed only by doctors. Thank you in advance. Yeah, the synthetic hormones are dangerous. Okay, absolutely. But there's so many things that you could do right now. And I'm talking directly addressing the anxiety, the hot flashes, everything. Look at supplements online, increasing your fat, like a ketogenic diet, but healthy fats. Luckily in France, you guys have got our organic butter, organic cows. You have limited glyphosate exposure for your grains. Healing the gut is going to be hugely important if you can get to a corrective chiropractor. And I know that's not licensed in France, but somebody that can take an x-ray and identify physical stressors, that will be helpful. Stabilizing the pelvis. If you have bunion formation, like if your big toe is leaning towards the others, look at our pelvic stabilization. So that will help the physical stressors. Look at emotional changes, such as journaling before bed. Look at neurolinguistic programming, emotional freedom technique, mastering your emotion. And under healthy fats, look at nuts and seeds. Look at hemp seeds and chia seeds. Look at increasing omega-3s. Okay, so healthy fish of anchovy, mackerel, sardine. No factory farm fish, no packaged foods. Look at exercise. This means a half hour a day. Exercise will help your body detox the system. Look at keeping cool at night. Okay, and that's going to be vital. And know that your body has those hot flashes to also detox the body. The body has night sweats to, again, detox the system from endocrine disruptors or toxic hormones that you have. Lose weight, and that's going to be the belly, seat, and thighs. That's going to be an issue. Belly, seat, and thigh weight distribution has to do with cortisol. Cortisol has to do with stress. There's only 3 stressors: physical, chemical, emotional. So addressing those 3 stressors, mastering your emotional state, changing your sleep patterns, building your gut flora with healthy bacteria, getting 8 hours, 7.5 hours of deep sleep a night, journaling before bed, reading before bed, consciously mastering your emotions, your physical stressors, and your chemical stressors, your body will adapt better. And it works 100% of the time. Looking for hormones as a solution is not good. But looking at medicinal mushrooms, looking at black cohosh, wild Mexican yams, and healthy fats, and exercise and detox, and you will recover, my friend. You will. Question 5 from Svetlana Admitruck, 7003. I'm a vegan, not always use organic products in menopause. Question: what is helpful to eliminate or reduce hot flashes and gain weight? Thanks ahead for answering your excellent work for humanity. God bless. God bless you too, Svetlana. Increasing your fats. Ketogenic diet is going to be the key. Coconut oil. Looking at nuts, seeds, hemp seeds, chia seeds are going to be really good. Soak chia seeds in water and add that to almost every beverage. B12 deficiency. Okay, B12 supplementation for vegans is going to be huge. Putting moist heat on your gut is going to be fantastically important. But lots more seeds and nuts. But also look at sleep pattern changes. Look at our sleep restriction videos. That's going to be huge. Look at mastering emotions, because physical, chemical, emotional stress, emotions to be addressed are equally as important as physical stressors. So get your physical aspect assessed. Look at bunion formation. If your big toe is leaning towards your others, that could indicate an unstable pelvis or altered gait function. So when you're in a chronic sympathetic dominant or stress state, you're not going to have good resting, digesting, and repairing. So you're not going to have the raw materials to gain weight or to process nutrients. So the ketogenic diet, increasing healthy nuts, seeds, omega-3s are going to be hugely important. B12 for all vegans, you got to get in there. Mastering your emotions, journaling before bed, mastering sleep, and moderate exercise is all going to be helpful. Hit those 3 stressors and you will. God bless you too, my dear. Question 6 for Roxana Anchis, 6611. Hello, Dr. Bergman. My question is, what causes and what can we do for early menopause before the age of 40? So when many women today are sadly entering menopause before the age of 40. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Look at the toxic hormonal influence. Okay, you have 2 communication pathways in the body: electrical, chemical. Electrical is the nervous system. Chemical is the hormonal system, because hormones are chemical communicators. You are exposed in our society today huge amounts of chemical things that are like hormones but not hormones. You can call them endocrine disruptors. There are a lot of medical procedures that we can't talk about here that are altering menstrual cycles, hormonal production, and ovarian production and uterine production. So, and a lot of those things, they're so censored that you would lose channels and demonetize. We've already, gone through that. We're still there. Okay, where there's big challenges for us trying to reveal the truth of science, anatomy, and physiology, which shouldn't be a censored topic. But just know that there's a lot of censored issues as well. So I recommend going to our Dr. B VIP where we can talk about this more freely, but just realize that certain medical interventions, virtually all medications, can alter mitochondrial function, and the chemicals in our food supply, preservatives, and anything that you put on a shelf is going to have metabolic or digestive enzymes removed so bacteria don't get it. So you're looking at nutrients devoid of benefits, or devoid of the majority of their benefits. So looking at your toxic environmental exposure, dealing with the physical, chemical, emotional stress. But this is why we're seeing menopause in their 30s and 40s, okay? Because of not just toxic influences that they're going through, but possibly generational, where their mom went through. If their mom had birth control or had DES as a medication, or certain medications or certain interventions, that can affect the second generation. And we're seeing it even affect the third generation. So we're looking at 2 to 3 generations of great toxic influences that are affecting the hormonal or chemical pathways of the body. But you can recover by looking at the 3 stressors: physical, chemical, and emotional. Question 7 from Arg. I am, like your name, I'm 50. I haven't had a period for over a year, so officially menopause. My husband is always around, but recently went on a long weekend trip. I started spotting the day after he left related sudden loss of testosterone in my proximity, kind of like how women working close proximity to tend up in different cycles. Having your husband away for a while, changing your environment will change your emotional state and change your physical state. You may be sleeping better or worse without him sleeping there. Okay. Your environment and activity level will change. So there's a lot of physical changes that can occur as well. Spotting during menopause is very, very common. You're looking at a tablespoon or less of blood, which makes sense. When menopause onset, there can be vaginal dryness from decreased hormones. This is why we recommend an increasing fats like a ketogenic diet. That'll give your body the raw materials, looking at increasing omega-3s from nuts, seeds, anchovy, mackerel, sardine, wild-caught salmon. Okay, increasing the healthy fats, olive oil. Okay, organic. It's going to help with hormone production. Look at sleep pattern change also, and look at stabilizing your pelvis, and look at mild to moderate exercise. And look at also what's kind of fun, even when your hubby's there, do journaling before bed so it quiets the overactive mind. And if you journal what you envision your life to be, it will change a mindset before you go to sleep. So those are great exercises. But not necessarily the sudden loss of testosterone, but the change in sleep patterns, because some people will sleep better when the husband's not there. Some people sleep worse when the husband's not there. But know that the activity level will change. And when you see your hubby, give him a big hug. You'll both enjoy it. From Shannon, 2228. I had severe uterine fibroids, and there were 4 of them, and they were the size of large eggs. The doctor said it was a miracle I had 2 babies. I had a hysterectomy afterwards, but kept my eggs. I hope that is safe. Yes, but you got to look. Your body formed those uterine fibroids. It formed them. And the doctor is confused because your body forms them and they go away, then forms them and they go away. They're not there for forever. And when you go through pregnancy, your hormonal levels radically change. And also your toxic environment is radically changed too during that pregnancy and how you metabolize certain hormones. So doctors are just confused. Look at your toxic environmental influence. Look at the physical, chemical, emotional stress. Look at endocrine disruptors. Look at anything you put on your skin is going to be metabolized. It gets into your bloodstream. So if you can't eat the stuff you put on your skin, and this includes creams, makeups, lip gloss, lipstick. Okay, look at the cleaning products that you're exposed to, like chlorine and fluoride. Those can all be endocrine disruptors. Look at toxic environment, such as water, packaged foods, processed foods. All of these things are going to be like hormones, but not really hormones, or xenoestrogens. And this could have been one of the contributing factors to form those uterine fibroids. Keeping the ovaries afterwards is smart. Know that your adrenal glands are going to be fatigued and going to work harder. So change the sleep patterns. Do neurolinguistic programming. You can do emotional freedom technique, journaling before bed, changing your sleep patterns. All of those are going to be hugely important. Ketogenic diet with healthy fats is going to be vital, and you will. It's having a hysterectomy or having the uterus removed could also create pelvic instability. So you're looking at bladder issues, pelvic floor issues. So look at stabilizing the pelvis, getting to a corrective chiropractor to have them check the lumbar. Make sure you look at your gait to stabilize the gait. But having parts removed out of the pelvis can create bladder issues and bowel issues and pelvic floor issues as well, because they can sometimes damage the broad ligament, and that literally approximates the pelvis. So look at a trochanter support too, but fix all of those and you're going to thrive. Question 9 from Lexi Lane, 183. Question 47 here. I'm in perimenopause. I've had 3 recurrences of C-Diff throughout my life. I now have post-infectious inflammatory bowel syndrome, so I can't balance my diet. What's the best to eat for women with IBS trying to get through perimenopausal symptoms? My dear, you've got the terrible twosome. Okay, let's heal the gut. Same thing for the perimenopause. 3 things you got to address. Physical, chemical, emotional stress. We got to heal the gut. And this could be as simple as getting a hot water bottle, putting a wet towel on it because moist heat penetrates, putting it on your tummy at nighttime to get moist heat to go to that tummy. Looking at healthy fermented foods. Look at a ketogenic diet. That's going to start to heal that gut. But inflammatory bowel diseases can be corrected. Okay, they can be. And we're talking within 30 days. Now, you've got to look at the physical, chemical, and emotional stress. So problems with the neck, problems with the thoracic area, problems with the lumbar, pelvic instability. Get to a corrective chiropractor and look at the entire structure. If you have bunion formation, know that that's going to be an indicator of pelvic insufficiency. So physical stress, chemical stress. That means beware. Anything you put on your skin gets in your system. Poor sleep patterns are a chemical stressor. Okay, that's a big deal. So change your sleep patterns. Look at your exercise. Exercising is detoxing. Look at grounding. If you're in an area that you can walk, that will help. But all of this is going to start to heal the gut. One exercise that I recommend for people to do after they've done the sleep restriction therapy is to take about 16 ounces of water, hot, almost as hot as tea, but not too hot. And you want to down that water in the space of 1 minute. So you get a pound of hot water in your gut, put your elbows on the kitchen counter, stand away from the kitchen counter, and force your tummy out, then force it in. Force it out, then force it in. Over about 3 minutes. This will rush hot water to that intestinal tract, healing the intestinal tract. And then with the inflammatory bowel disease, that means that you got a leaky gut. And so eliminate gluten, eliminate dairy for about a month and a half to 2 months. Okay, this way the undigested proteins will, those trigger an inflammatory response in the bloodstream, suppressing the thyroid. So gluten-free, dairy-free, healthy amounts of fermented food, eliminate all the toxins, and you're going to heal the gut. 30 to 45 days. Dealing with the physical stressor is going to help, and dealing with the emotional stressor. Look at neurolinguistic programming. Address those 3 stressors, and your body will thrive. The question 10 from Cara Desiree. Endometriosis, where does it come from? Osis means condition of. Endometrium is the lining of the uterus. So it's that lining of the uterus in the pelvic cavity. Now, a couple of different theories on it, and one of them that I really like. And you figure you got the uterus and you got the fallopian tubes coming off of it. Okay, now there's hair cells in those fallopian tubes always creating a back pressure to suck the egg that's right outside of the fallopian tubes that bursts through the wall of the ovary, and it sucks in there. Now, the fallopian tube is where fertilization takes place. So you need those hair cells to always be creating a drawing pressure over that ovary. And then if there's implantation, beautiful, you get a kid. If there's not implantation or fertilization, then the uterus contracts, expelling the menses out the cervix through the vaginal canal. That's normal. If there's loss of function of the hair cells, so this means pelvic instability, lumbar plexus problems, pelvic plexus, sacral plexus issues, or you compromise the nerve supply to that fallopian tube, when that uterus contracts, it can contract in an inconsistent fashion, where the uterus, instead of contracting, expelling the menses, can contract in an abnormal fashion because you've got compromised nerve supply to half of the uterus or that fallopian tube. Then it can expel that endometrium out through the fallopian tube in the uterus. So look at sacral plexus issues, look at lumbar issues, look at pelvic instability, and look at hormonal imbalances causing endometriosis. To correct it, physical, chemical, emotional stress, address those 3, and you're going to get it corrected. And I've seen it. The endometrium can actually be chewed up by cells you got called macrophages. So even if you have that mass there, start doing moist heat on the belly or the pelvic area right above the pubic symphysis. That's going to trigger the metabolic processes, trigger the macrophages, which means big eaters, and you can actually eliminate that endometrium as long as you're restoring the nerve supply, restoring normal pelvic organ function. Question 11 from Janet DeSalvo, 6705. In my mid-20s, type 1 diabetic since I was a child, have shaky hands, have had very much heightened stressful lifestyle over the past few years, things much better now, diet, etc. But I can't get rid of the shaking hands. I've tried B12, B1. What can I take to aid the pancreas? Please help. Thank you for all you do. God bless. God bless you too, Janet. Okay. Figure shaking is going to have a couple of different benefits. I know benefits. Understand your body is going to do things based on reason, based on an adaptive physiology. Shaking can generate dopamine, and dopamine has a calming effect in the body. Just think like if there's a tiger outside, I'd be saying, oh, there's a tiger outside. And that shaking is going to have a calming effect on me. 3 things to reduce your insulin usage to get your pancreas working correctly: physical, chemical, emotional stress. Since you've had this in the mid-20s, there can be certain medical interventions that trigger a type 1 diabetic or can damage the pancreas. Those medical interventions, we can't talk about it because that's a censored topic. 1984, here we are. Okay, you can't talk about certain interventions that can negatively affect the body. That aside, we'll go over this stuff in the uncensored portion of on the Dr. B VIP. But now just know that certain medical interventions, and certain toxic environmental exposures are leading to an increase in type 1 diabetes as well as type 2 diabetes, which is a blood poisoning. Totally different than type 1. It shouldn't be called type 1 and type 2. So physical stressors are going to reduce your need for insulin, addressing those. Figure when you're in physically, chemically, or emotionally stressed, your liver is going to start to break glycogen down to glucose to elevate blood sugar. Now, the job of insulin is to get energy out of the blood into the cells. If there's not enough insulin, then the energy or the glucose is floating around in the bloodstream, and this can do damage to the joints, damage to the eyes, damage to the organ system because the blood becomes thick and it makes the blood inefficient. So insulin job is to get that blood sugar or glucose or energy out of the blood into the cells. So exercising will burn up some of that glucose. Okay, this means moderate exercise every day. Going to an organic plant-based diet. Why organic? Because then you're going to have less estrogens or less endocrine disruptors in that system. Getting healthy probiotics, prebiotics with each meal. Getting fermented foods with each meal, because you're talking 80% of the immune system, 90% of the immune system is located in the gut. So getting healthy gut bacteria is going to be one of the keys. Changing your sleep pattern so your body can regenerate at night, and dealing with the emotional component. They're doing neurolinguistic programming, which is something we teach every patient. Journaling before bed with positive mindsets, like what you can call them vision statements. And this is going to be every night. I am healthy. I am dynamic. I live in a world of grace and love. So preparing your mindset before sleep, resetting your circadian rhythms, because sleep is when the body regenerates. Mastering your emotional components, okay, is going to be one of the key factors as well as correcting physical stressors. You got to look up Lillian Ashworth. Okay, she was the grandmother of my philosophy instructor, Carl Cleveland II. And she had type 1 diabetes and actually went to chiropractic, got corrected back in they call it the sugar disease back then. And she became one of the first women chiropractors. So realize that chiropractic adjustments can also alter blood sugar. Okay, so that's a good thing. And if you have subluxation patterns, damage of the pancreas, the adjustments can help the insulin utilization. So all of this stuff, the exercising, the dealing with the physical stressors through chiropractic and exercise, dealing with the chemical stressors, so anything you put on your skin can get into your bloodstream. Realize that you got to, if you're putting makeup on, you better be able to eat that makeup because otherwise it can be toxic. Look at cleaning products can negatively affect your hormone levels as well. And all of that, you're going to see the shakiness be reduced and your body begin to get healthier. Now, if I didn't answer your question clearly, okay, on the censored portion, just realize that you can go to the Dr. B VIP and we can answer it more clearly, only because we are living in 1984 and the powers that be that control the media are not allowing us to talk about certain subjects. So God bless you. We have to go to a private site in order to have a discussion like this. But at least in the current environment, we are allowed to have those private sites. God bless you. Stay healthy, my friends.